Coming up today, a visit with Ben Jeffers, the first black man since Reconstruction to run for state office in Louisiana, as we continue Pause for Pride, our salute to Black History Month. Also, a look at the Community Association for the Welfare of School Children, a nonprofit organization whose primary purpose is to keep children in school. Hello, I'm Sonya Masingale, a fascinating profile and worthy causes on today's edition of Folks. You may recognize the face of today's Pause for Pride, Ben Jeffers, from campaign posters around the state. Back in 1979, he was the first black to run for state office since Reconstruction days. Or you may recognize him as one of the organizers of the statewide voter registration drive back in 1982. Well, Ben Jeffers has turned his energies to running his own company today, and although he's not visible on the political forefront right now, he could be making a comeback in the near future. We met with Jeffers at his home in Baton Rouge, and he told us that although he lost the race for Secretary of State in 1979, he gained the experiences of a lifetime. We take this time to get to know Ben Jeffers, businessman, politician, and black leader.
A man who can trace his ancestry over 3 generations, Ben Jeffers came to Louisiana from his home in Florida after serving in the Marine Corps as an aircraft mechanic. He soon found his interest turning to journalism and political activism. He founded this newspaper in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and decided then to make Louisiana his home.
I love Louisiana. As I indicated earlier, I've been in Louisiana now 20 years, and this is home. You know, I mentioned the fact that I was born in Florida, but I say I was raised in Louisiana. I came of age here. I love the people in Louisiana. One of the things that bothered me when I was running for Secretary of State was the fact that my opponents used to say that I wasn't from here. You know, my question was, how long did you have to be in a place before you became a resident, a citizen? I feel closer to Louisiana than I do, say, any other part of the country. And again, it is home. And I want to be a part of making Louisiana work. And as long, whatever I can do to contribute to that, I plan to do that.
After continuing his college education at age 30 at Southern University, he began a notable career in state government as the Director of Human Relations in the Department of Health and Human Resources. That's where his political career began to take shape.
At the time, I felt, number one, that it was something that I was qualified to do. I had a background in administration, public administration. I had the opportunity to be Undersecretary of the state's largest department during that time, and also run the state hospital system, including Charity Hospital in New Orleans. And I'd recently completed my college education in business management, and I felt that the office of Secretary of State was first an administrative post because it was the key record keeper of the state. And the bottom line, I just felt that I was qualified for it, and the opportunity was there. There was no incumbent in the office at the time. And after we all qualified, certainly I felt like I was the most qualified candidate, and I decided to run from that. It was a real rewarding experience. I'd had an opportunity, having worked in several other campaigns, including the governor's race, but working in a campaign is totally different from being the candidate. I had to go into all 64 parishes of the state. For the first time, I had an opportunity to have a friend of mine flew his own plane and took me around the state. So You know, I was making 4 and 5 cities a day, and it was a 7-day, almost a 24-hour-a-day kind of operation. And I started out, I think I must have weighed about 185, and when the campaign ended, I was down to about 165.
After taking the campaign door to door and gathering supporters throughout the state, Jeffers still had to face the loss of his first big attempt in the political arena.
Election night, I'm a very optimistic person. I would not have even run for Secretary of State if I felt like I didn't have a chance to win. I felt like we had a chance to win. I certainly felt like we had a chance to get in the runoff. Needless to say, it was a disappointment in a way that we didn't get in the runoff or didn't win the race. But again, there were so many other rewarding experiences that I guess you might say that kind of held the tears back, because it did feel kind of like a letdown. I was more disappointed, I think, for the core group of people that had come together to support us. And I think they were more hurt than I was at the time, and I felt real bad about that. But from a realistic standpoint, we accomplished becoming a major candidate. And that was the first time in the history, since Reconstruction, that a black candidate had even been considered a major candidate. And we were able to, out of the 10 largest daily papers in the state, we were able to get the endorsement of 7 of them. And that was the first too. So I felt like we accomplished a lot by running, but the bottom line in politics is winning. And we didn't accomplish that. So I still feel that there's something still left to do. I think that whether it's me or someone else, I think that the state sooner or later will elect a black person statewide.
In your opinion, why has the state resisted having high-ranking black state officials?
Going back to the Edwards administration, the first term, certainly he, more so than any other governor in the history of Louisiana, involved more minorities and women in his administration. I think this sort of broke the ice. The next administration, Edwards' second term, he involved even more than the first term. Treen came along and had a record to shoot after, so he involved a great number of minorities and women in his administration. And for the most part, what I'm talking about are appointed type positions. When it comes to elected positions statewide, number one, it takes a strong political organization, campaign organization, a structure to run statewide. It takes an awful lot of money. As a matter of fact, I ran in '78 and I'm still paying my campaign debt. And generally, losers, the debt becomes a personal thing. You know, as I said, I ran in '78 and it's '87 now, and I'm still paying that debt. And people forget about that. You can't have fundraisers, for example. I mean, unless I was running for another office, I could have a fundraiser and probably raise some money. But to tell people to come to a fundraiser that for a campaign debt that goes all the way back to '78, people are not really interested in that.
After the Secretary of State race, Jeffers served as Regional Director of Health, Education, and Welfare in the Carter administration for 1 year. But after his federal experience, he was ready to take a break from politics and pay off some campaign debts.
I had an opportunity in '82, '83 to work with Governor Edwards' election campaign. He was coming back for a third term. And I took off and volunteered about 13, 14 months just doing that. And quite frankly, when I finished that, I was pretty burnt out with politics. I had an opportunity to go into state government again. He offered me several jobs, but I wanted to do something else. The bottom line is I said I wanted to make money.
Jeffers' brother Earl was one of the founders of Coastal Environmental Control Incorporated, a toxic waste removal company. They specialize in asbestos abatement. With billings of over $6 million last year, Coastal Environmental Control has won national attention as a successful minority business. This article on the company appeared in Black Enterprise magazine last year. But Jeffers says that his company still faces the discrimination common to many black businesses.
But by the same token, though we this year up to this point have generated in gross receipts somewhere over 6.5 million, we still have banking problems. And it's not because we don't pay our bills or anything, but I like to draw the analogy that the bank that we're dealing with in Texas, for example, I can go and buy 4 brand new Cadillacs and they'll finance them. But I can go and ask them to finance one truck that totals the same price that I can make money with, and they have problems with it. And I'm not characterizing all banks like this, but that's just one of the problems that one faces in the business arena. And until we are able to cross that hurdle, I think we're going to have serious problems.
What will it take to push minorities into the mainstream of American business?
If we can change a few more attitudes and people begin to see you just as another company coming in to do business, as opposed to getting turned off after you walk in and they see who you are, I think that things will begin to change.
Now that you're in business, will you ever go back to the political life?
I think that money and politics are synonymous, really. I feel that since I've had an opportunity to really get heavily involved in business, we participated very actively in politics. Not only in Louisiana, we were heavily involved in the last Senate race, supported John Breaux, both financially and with volunteer time. We also got involved in the governor's race in Colorado, and were successful there. The guy that we supported is the new governor of Colorado. We have an office in Colorado, so that sort of helps to some extent. And we've gotten active in politics in Texas, where our base is, and certainly, we feel that being involved in politics and the kind of business that we're in, it all goes hand in hand. So I guess the bottom line of your question is that I think that at some point we will get heavily involved again in Louisiana's politics.
Ben Jeffers is a truly dedicated and capable man. We're all anticipating his return to Louisiana politics. Now let's move on to the next part of our show. The Community Association for the Welfare of School Children is a 28-year-old organization founded by a group of concerned educators. The purpose was to give underprivileged black school children in East Baton Rouge Parish a chance to stay in school. They discovered that often lack of clothing and other essentials kept students out of school, and they set about alleviating as many of the problems as they could by finding ways to attack the cause of the problems they encountered rather than the symptoms.
Gwendolyn Miller, school nurse supervisor for East Baton Rouge Parish, identifies CAUSE as an important program for the health care of many school children.
CAUSE has, throughout the years, has donated a sum of money to the school nurses each year to provide dental services, vision services, sometimes medical services, whatever the need may exist with our school children. The amount of money that is provided by CAUSE, we try to use very sparingly. We have 19 nurses, and each of them have from 5 to 7 schools. So this money is available to the nurses in case of emergencies, when a child cannot afford a dental appointment, they cannot afford vision services, they may need glasses, because we realize it's very important in order for children to learn, they must first be able to see. They cannot be in pain with dental problems, and we'd like to alleviate this type of pain or alleviate this type of vision problem by providing the necessary services.
And how do you identify the children who need such emergency services?
Students are referred to the school nurses by teachers, sometimes parents, principals, or guidance instructors. And when a student is referred, the nurse goes in, she checks the student, and she calls the parent to see first if they can afford the service. If the student is on welfare, we first use the welfare services. If they're Chapter 1 students, we then use Chapter 1 services. And if the parent is not eligible or the student for any of these services, then we use the money that has been allocated by CAUSE for these type of emergencies.
So you use the money in emergencies only?
That's correct. We try to save it only for emergencies, because with the sum of $400 being donated each year by CAUSE, we have to use it very sparingly to service as many students as possible.
Other than Chapter 1 and welfare and cause, do you have any other money for emergency things like that?
Unfortunately, no. And this is a problem with school nurses because we have no other resources. We do use many times, sometimes for Visions, the Lions Club. They are very helpful and answering referrals for us. But as far as dental services, we really don't have funding for dental services outside the funding that I mentioned. We do refer to the Leo Butler Center, but of course, as you know, there is a cost there according to income. But as far as available services for dental services, there are none available. And many times we have to turn students down because of the funding that has been given us through cost. It's not enough.
Harry Johnson is a supervisor of child welfare and attendance for the East Baton Rouge school system. He has been a visiting teacher for 22 years. Johnson says that cause has indeed helped many children stay in school.
Visiting teachers focus on attendance problems in the school setting. Whenever a child is absent from school, any number of extended days, principal calls the visiting teacher office and he goes out to find out why. He may come across illness, death, religious holidays being observed, or he may find pure neglect on the part of a family sending a child to school. And then it's the focus of the visiting teacher to get all of the agencies in the community that are needed to solve the problems for the children in this family and get them back in school on a regular basis.
So other than welfare in Chapter 1, the visiting teachers have no other emergency funding?
Well, we have one other source of funding. It comes from a church organization, and we call it a Come Double Fund. There's very little money there. If it weren't for cause, that would be all that we have.
The Cause Basic Skill Development Program consists of a structured after-school academic study in reading, writing, mathematics, listening, speaking, word analysis, and problem solving. Since this program began in 1981, participation has increased overwhelmingly. The program involves youngsters from kindergarten to 5th grade. The Basic Skills program also involves prominent community members as frequent guests and speakers to provide the children with positive role models. Here is East Baton Rouge School Board President Press Robinson speaking to the kindergarten class.
Because he said that whatever it is that you want out of life,
There is also a community clothing bank provided by the agency for children and their parents who are in need of clothing. All of Cause is designed to keep children in school.
Joining me in the studio today to tell us more about Cause is the executive director of the Cause program, Blanche Locke, and one of the Cause board members, Rural Cook. Welcome to folks.
Thank you.
Blanche, could you tell us something about the founding of the Cause program?
Okay. The Cause Agency was founded back in 1959 by 9 educators, and their desire at that time was to provide for children shoes and clothing so that they might be able to stay in school. They united together to just kind of raise money, buy clothing out of their own pockets so that children might be able to stay in school. Many of these people were visiting teachers, so they actually saw the reason children were out of school: lack of shoes, clothing, sweaters, underwear, just any number of things. And from this evolved the Community Association for the Welfare of School Children.
Are you only concerned with the welfare of children in school?
No, we're not. The agency has merged to be a family life center at this time, where we work with senior citizens, parents, teenagers. We work with the entire family at this point.
I see. And what are some of your needs? What do you need right now to do a better job?
Money would be, well, we are in need of, our membership drive actually funds the Keep a Child in School program. We are in need of volunteers. We are in need of people donating clothing to the agency. We're in need of food that we distribute to people from the community. So we're in need of numbers of things that people could certainly help us out with, because we see all areas of need every day.
You mentioned the membership drive, and Rural Cook is the executive vice president of the board of directors. Am I correct?
Just vice president.
And that means that you are also chairing the membership drive.
That's right.
So how are you going about soliciting memberships for cause?
Well, what we've done is, I guess, more or less follow what we've been doing with some minor changes. But what we've done is to break down the community in terms of some categories. Those categories include the cause board, includes government employees, churches, businesses, social clubs, sororities and fraternities, and the cause staff. And we select persons from wherever who seem to be related or linked up with these areas, and they serve as category chairpersons. And they break down their area then into a working kind of size, and they proceed to seek memberships from these people.
When did you begin the membership drive this year?
We had the kickoff on January 31st at 7 o'clock. I think that was this past Saturday.
And how long will it last?
The drive will go through April 15th.
And what are your goals?
$20,000. $20,000. And the amount has been broken up by the various categories that we have.
Have your drives been successful in years past?
Well, it's vacillated. There have been occasions when we come up with 70, 80, 90% of it, and other times when, you know what the economy is like right now, so it sort of varies.
So how are you actually going about soliciting the members?
Well, we're doing any number of things, two that I'll mention, and one is that we are sending out membership materials, and the individuals who are chairing the various components are also issuing membership cards and collecting the funds also.
Well, who can become a member of cause?
Any individual within the boundaries of East Baton Rouge Parish. And that's something I'd like to highlight here, and that is that the cause membership drive services children and families throughout East Baton Rouge Parish, not just Eaton Park.
The entire parish?
The entire parish.
And how much is a membership?
Well, a membership, again, can vary. We have some kinds of memberships. We have an individual membership that will go for $750, and there is a pay setter that will go...
$750?
Oh,
or
$7.50.
$7.50. Okay.
That would be nice, though. Really would be nice. But anyway, it goes up to $150, which is a sustaining membership that we sort of go to organizations for.
I see. And how much money have you raised so far?
Blanche, will you?
We've raised right at $3,000 at this point. First 3 weeks of the campaign, or a little over a week and a half.
I can imagine you're encouraged.
Yes, very much so.
I'm curious a little bit about the program, the after-school basic skills program that we saw during the piece that just ran. How long does a child stay in that program?
Okay. Our children normally stay in the program about 2 to 3 years. They might come in as a kindergartner, and then by second or third grade, their parent might decide that they will just take them out of the program. This being that they have learned how to maintain study habits or develop good study habits. They have also learned some basic skills, concepts in the various areas, and thereby be able to produce on their own. Okay. Then there are other children who might stay for 4 years with us, others who might stay a year with us, some who only stay a summer with us.
About how much does that program take to run per year?
Okay, well, United Way funds that end of the program, and we're spending about $90,000 a year.
Does that include the program for the teenagers? We didn't mention the teenage program.
The teenage program, we actually have no funding for that program. We're just kind of doing it on the side, trying to get them involved, and they actually raise money themselves with cotton candy, popcorn sales, to fund some of the activities that they're interested in, such as visiting the hospitals and purchasing things for children in the pediatric wards. So they actually raise their own money to carry on that portion of the program.
That's very interesting. What is the goal of the Basic Skills Program?
Okay, the goal of the Basic Skill Program is to develop a child's level in the areas of reading, writing, and arithmetic so that they're able to pass the state basic skill test. Many of our children come to us either not reading on that particular grade level in which they're in, and we try and raise those levels up to build their concept in various areas.
How do you know that you're being successful at what you're doing?
Okay, the children are tested at the beginning of the year when they come to us. We actually know what level they're testing in on, and they're also tested at the end of the program. That might be August, again in May as they leave us. As we run the summer project, we again test the children at the beginning of June and at the end of July, so that we can keep up with the progress, how well that child has progressed through the program.
Okay, Mrs. Cook-Rule, is there a telephone number where you can be reached or where someone can be reached in connection with cause?
It can be reached at the call center, which is 924-7506.
That's 924-7506. We've been talking to Rural Cook and Blanche Locke of the Cause Agency in Baton Rouge. Well, that's our program for today. Be sure to join us next week for our exploration of the Harlem Renaissance. Until next week, bye-bye.